You're an enterprise technology leader who just spent millions of dollars on Microsoft Copilot licenses for your entire workforce, but your employees have quietly stopped using it and gone back to ChatGPT instead. In this video, I explain exactly why that is happening across organizations of every size and what you can do right now to fix it. If this sounds like you or someone you know, don't worry. You're not alone. This is not speculation. A major pharmaceutical company purchased Copilot for 20,000 of its staff. A full year later, its people were still using ChatGPT for anything that actually mattered, only opening Copilot when Microsoft's own apps forced them to. Bloomberg reported that Microsoft is struggling to sell Copilot to corporations because their employees want ChatGPT instead. According to industry analysts, only 3.3% of Microsoft 365 users actually pay for Copilot. So out of roughly 450 million commercial users who have access to it, Microsoft has spent billions building this product and is publicly reporting growth. The ground level reality inside enterprise organizations tells a very different story. Your team did everything right. The rollout was proper. The training happened, the licenses were assigned, and your employees still went back to the tool they trusted or was most convenient. And the reason is not that they're being difficult. It's that when they ask Copilot something about your company or some of their information, your policies, procedures, the answer feels incomplete and inconsistent. Microsoft tells you that when a document is updated, it syncs into the system with 2 to 3 hours. What the people who've actually built and used this tool at scale know is that in large environments, that sync regularly takes 2 to 3 days. So your employee is asking about a process that was updated yesterday and getting an answer built on the version from before the change. They don't know that. The system does not tell them that. They just know the answer feels wrong and they go to ChatGPT instead, taking information from what should be internal and putting it into an external environment. Your organization is now paying for 2 AI tools, one that your employees trust because it feels responsive, and one that your finance team and your organization is paying for because the leadership signed the contract. So every month that gap remains open, you are carrying the full cost of a platform your people have quietly decided does not work. Microsoft itself quietly reduced sales targets across several divisions because enterprise adoption was lagging, an acknowledgement from the inside that what was promised and what is being experienced are not the same thing. Your employees already know this. The competitors who figured out how to make Copilot actually perform on their own internal knowledge are not waiting for you to catch up. The problem is not the AI and the capabilities of it. It is that Copilot has never been given what it needs to answer questions about your company accurately, and that is entirely fixable. We've actually done this for $10 billion pharmaceutical company where they were having the same issues, just getting answers to the information that they already knew they had. More than that, their goal was to have this internal team be able to share this information with external teams seamlessly. And the problem was that Microsoft Copilot just didn't provide the right answers. They couldn't trust the information that was being presented to them, but the answer was at their fingertip. That answer was something that we helped them to discover. You see, the way to fix this is actually to fix how Microsoft Copilot indexes your information. There's an entire structure with which Microsoft right now is analyzing information and presenting that to you and people in your organization. And the problem is that there are so many competing priorities. Keep in mind that Microsoft is trying to build a very secure enterprise scale system. So it has a lot of competing priorities versus a tool like Claude or ChatGPT, where their reasoning ability is incredible and they're not forced to operate within those same restrict parameters. So what's happening is that the result that everybody knows that they should be getting and that you've probably even experienced isn't happening on Copilot. But that actually is creating, at this point, a huge problem within your organization. But this means that there's actually huge opportunity because instead of continuing to allow your people in your organization to remove that sensitive information or proprietary information from your internal sort of frameworks, Microsoft Copilot, which is an internal tool to your organization, rather than continuing to lose efficiency and productivity and even make it so that way like you're put at risk or your company's put at risk, there are tools and ways to organize this information right now that only take a few weeks to actually integrate. And then you would have the full capability of Microsoft Copilot as an AI tool that's just as effective at reasoning and indexing and finding all the relevant information in your organization. So what does this actually do? This collapses time by a huge sort of efficiency scale. It allows people within your organizations to get immediate answers. It allows them to share information in real time. That's also one of the major things that have to be fixed is if you want Microsoft Copilot to work and function properly, you have to know that when you or your team updates documents that read and indexed, or basically, the database knows that they're there, right? And in order for the database to know that, right now, out of the box, Microsoft Copilot, even though they say that it's 2 to 3 hours before that information is updated, it can honestly take 2 to 3 days. And that's what we end up seeing in practice or in reality is that this information is lagging far behind the way that people are operating. And so the goal is, or the real message is that you've invested tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, depending on the size of your organization. And in the case of the $10 billion pharmaceutical company, that was what we actually saw. They were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we were able to go in and optimize the way Microsoft Copilot was operating within weeks, so that way they had access to the same powerful AI, LLMs, and the way that their team members and people, that organization knew it should work. And that was a huge unlock. Another things that we talked about was the security and also being able to share information and how the LLM or how Copilot is actually retrieving or indexing the information that you have within your organization. A few key components that get fixed. And by doing that, that's how you actually unlock and bring about like incredible efficiency within your organization to go from a pattern, depending on how many people are there. If every one of your employees or every person within the organization is hitting the same roadblock, if they're having to pull information outside of the organization just to process or just to ask some questions, that's imposing huge risk on the organization. And really, Microsoft Copilot is primed to be able to operate in this way. It just has to be built in the right way. And you would ask, why is it that Microsoft just doesn't fix this? Maybe one day they will, and hopefully they do, especially for those that have invested quite a bit of money into this. But right now, the simple response is that they haven't quite rolled out like the proper functionality for this. You're using sort of an out-of-the-box, plain vanilla tool to do something that people like their organizations like, again, Anthropic and OpenAI, they haven't needed to operate within the same restrictions that Microsoft Copilot is. And so they've built tools that have been purpose-built, that are, again, lightning fast, and that their reasoning, their search capabilities is just incredible. And that's what they have built their tools upon. And so in order to get to that point, we have developed this process and actually built this infrastructure already to help organizations be able to take advantage of, again, those same tools and those same features, but within their organization where all of their information already exists. And we help organizations do that within, weeks. This isn't a 6-month-long project. We're talking about from week 1 to week 4, we build out a plan and deliver this. And within 4 weeks, your organization is able to rely on proper responses from Copilot and actually use it as a very valuable and functional tool. So if you'd like more information, check the link below. Happy to have a conversation and go into any more detail you'd like about your specific use case.